personally don't like the taste or like mushrooms. I've always substituted shrooms for acid. That's always been my thing. A lot of people say that shrooms are great, and acid is a little bit of a long haul. It's a 12-hour trip, all in all. But that's mostly what I've done. But yeah, I've lost the steering wheel a couple of times. That's the way I refer to it. It's a very mental drug. You have to have a fortitude in order to take it. But a bad trip is just a good trip, but bad is the way that somebody told it to me.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That's interesting. You know, I'm a hippie, I'm a philosopher, I'm a humanitarian. Well, I definitely believe that not only shrooms but all psychedelics they all have their own special power, and I believe that they do have eye-opening experiences. I can attribute a lot of the things I know to acid. That's been one of my benefactors in all of this. And you know, I think the universe it's fun, and it's meant to be fun. It's kind of like a serious soap opera, and instead of watching it, you're a part of it. And I believe the whole thing was created for the sole purpose of, just out of fun. That's the only motivation behind it. It does its thing for itself. We just experience it. I'm not so into shrooms. I've done shrooms a few times. I personally don't like the taste or like mushrooms. I've always substituted shrooms for acid. That's always been my thing. A lot of people say that shrooms are great, and acid is a little bit of a long haul. It's a 12-hour trip, all in all. But that's mostly what I've done. But yeah, I've lost the steering wheel a couple of times. That's the way I refer to it. It's a very mental drug. You have to have a fortitude in order to take it. But a bad trip is just a good trip, but bad is the way that somebody told it to me. And it's true, because a lot of the things that happen that make it a bad trip is actually you confronting you. I mean, acid has a way of making your subconscious conscious and really confronting you with it. And a lot of the times, you're in a good mindset to deal with it and confront it, and that's how you learn the things. But sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming, and it can really throw you off. But I always just kind of like breathe, and it's important to remember that you took the drug didn't take you. And it's just important to remember that it does end, and that you do come out of it. And then you probably want to think about it a little bit later, once you've sobered up a little bit and had some time to really process it. Because I'm a bit of a con man, so I knew that I had everything I needed. I had a friend's house that I could go and take showers at. I had food. I had ample wood to start a fire. I had a nice tent. It was actually my ideal setup. I really do miss it. Unfortunately, I live in the mountains of North Carolina, so when winter comes, it gets cold fast. But it was nice. Unfortunately, I survived kind of criminally. There were a lot of tips and tools I had to do to keep gas in my car and cigarettes in my pocket. And, but I never did anything towards one individual. I'm very respectful of that. I go after corporations. I'm not going to say which one, but I lived off one big corporation for that entire 3 months. They paid for everything. They completely sponsored me and had no idea. And it was very nice of them. But right. It was nice. It was liberating. It was really free. I enjoyed myself. I just kind of did what I wanted. And it was nice.
And would you say that living off the grid is an option for some people? Is like Was it possible to do long term?
Yeah, absolutely. If you had the money for a nice setup, I did not have the money to invest in a nice setup, which is why I did what I did. But if you have money in for a nice setup, you can actually completely self-sustain off of a little plot of land. And yeah, I mean, yeah, solar chargers and all of that stuff. I mean, you could create a nice zone. It's very modest, but I always had enough, and enough is as good as a feast. So I liked it.
Wow, man. And I bet you felt real in touch with nature, because at night, did it get really cold? Did you feel at home? Like, what was it, a negative or a positive experience overall? What would you say? Like,
It was definitely a positive. I enjoyed it so much. It was worth every day that I spent. Some days it was a struggle, but it was worth every bit of my time. It was really peaceful at night. It did get cold, but I had dug a fire pit, and I dug a ring down below the fire pit so that you could stick your feet in a trench and it would be warm. And so I managed, but I felt right at home. I was living in the woods behind a park, some sort of park, but it had a lot of woods and very few houses nearby, so that's where I camped out at. And it was really nice. As a misanthropic, I don't really, the logical side of me does not have that much faith in humanity, just kind of where we're at right now. We're not looking like we're in a good spot. I only say this because, it's the American people are not only seen as, but as an American myself, I can kind of, dignify some truth to this. We're kind of seen as stupid and, arrogant, unwilling to learn. And, that unfortunately says a lot about us, because it's true to an extent. Not too many people are worried about education, true education, instead of, regurgitating facts. I mean, something that is going to further itself. We aren't really worried about our people as a whole, and that's kind of giving the message, and neither is anybody else. I mean, on a government level, they're not really concerned about the American people, and that's kind of given the American people the impression that they don't have to be kind to the American people. And so we've kind of got this interesting thing where everybody's sort of nasty to each other. And in my opinion, the future isn't created in 20 years from now. It's starting today. The future is now, in this moment. The only everybody's ideology of the future is only imagination. And sorry, I'm getting a text and I was just trying to read.
You good? We're like, yeah, we're just chilling.
But it just kind of, we allow what happens to happen, and that's on us as citizens of this land that we stand on. I like to think of America not as the government, but as the land we grew up. This is the soil that nurtured us into what we are today. And you can't really there's no future if you're not really looking at benefiting everybody else, and that's not the direction we're heading. So I would like to think that it's going to be like a nice future, that we're going to get our shit all figured out, and everything's just going to be peachy. But when push comes to shove, it's ugly. There are people out there that are more than happy to put a price amount on somebody's life, and there are people that are perfectly fine with killing other people for a few extra dollars in their pocket. And as long as that's happening, I don't really see a future worth living or investing into, because, I mean, that sounds like an Orwellian nightmare to myself, you know. So unfortunately, I think that's the direction we're heading. I would like to be proved wrong, but, you know, even though people are kind of watching this game and like kind of seeing what's going on, nobody's really doing anything about it, or, you know, I mean, I don't know what there is to do, granted, but I'm sure that some people could figure it out, brainstorm, but that needs to be made top priority, because in my opinion, the most important thing that we should be focused on is how do we make human lives worth living, given that these lives come to an end. And, you know, I think until we figure out how to make life worth living, that we're always just kind of going to be lost, like we are right now. As a person, don't necessarily believe in marriage. You know, I know you get a little bit of a tax break, but for me, if you look at it outside of the Christian religion and, you know, everything they say about wedlock and everything like that, it just doesn't serve much of a purpose. It doesn't really, I mean, you spend a bunch of money to let everybody know that you decide you're going to be together forever, when you could do that for free and, you know, just kind of celebrate with a few people. But I, as a person, I am ordained to marry people. So, I mean, it's not like, you know, it's, it has a negative impact or anything. It's not like I'm against it. It's just, I, as a person, don't really believe in its sacredness like other people do.